Ladies and gentlemen, very pleased to have back on the program the author of this book that is now in, all kinds of new bookstores out there. He's getting all kinds of great acclaim, and he's selling it like crazy. He's made all kinds of additions to it. Of course, it's Rethinkin Lincoln. The author is Bernie Cyrus, who's with us. And Bernie, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, Jeff. It's always good to be with my old colleague.
Yes, we go way back,
Yeah.
and I'm excited that you really, you're into this whole research here.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I didn't plan on writing a book about Abraham Lincoln. When I started doing research on my family history, and I got to the Civil War, and I thought about how terrible it was, and I wondered why no compromise they couldn't have had some kind of compromise. And then I go back a little further. I saw a documentary from England years back that had a bad light on Lincoln. I was kind of shocked, but I didn't pay much attention to it. The English and the Europeans know more about our history than we do. And then I found out it was all true. Or should I say, as Lerone Bennett from Ebony magazine for 50 years, now he's the editor emeritus, in his book Force to Glory, everything we were taught about Abraham Lincoln was a lie. And it's true, it was all a lie. This guy is nothing like we were taught, and people like Mitch Landry are following that song like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
What I think people should know that I think is significant, Bernie has sold more copies of his book than Mitch Landry has sold of his book. And we've been promoting him here locally. Mitch is going on all the national shows. And you know what?
I've just been on your show and
Yeah.
a couple other TV shows.
And he goes on the national shows and he really exposes his ignorance.
He was caught on tape while he's making his presidential run, and he even makes a joke. Of course, he is an actor. He's went to Harvard for acting. So he even makes a joke about the podium looking presidential when he's speaking at these people, and he goes away from the podium, and the first gentleman comes up from Atlanta, asks him a question about the Emancipation Proclamation. The first thing out of his mouth was, I don't know. He doesn't know anything about the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, that's probably because, like most students, we were never taught it in school. But you think if he took down Robert Lee's statue and Jefferson Davis, he'd at least know a little about Civil War history, about the Emancipation Proclamation, which those of us who've done research know was a bogus propaganda piece, never freed one slave. Only the slaves in the North, the South, they had no control over. A lot of misnomers. But I say this, Jeff, and Mitch needs to listen. Next time you write a book, don't listen to what everybody else is telling you what the story is. Read the documentation. Show me one document, official record, that the war was about slavery, that it started about slavery, and you can't, because the first document, when it was written down, we're going to war, was months after Lincoln attacked attacked the South. And that document clearly said in 1861 in July, that the war was about preserving the Union, didn't mention slavery, it did mention, we're not messing with any institutions, laborers. Right. All we want to do is collect the duties. So it was all about money, getting the Southern finances, which finance 80% of the federal government.
So to this day, all these misconceptions, all of this media hype about what Landry was doing, that it's all about fighting racism, all about fighting white supremacy, fighting people like David Duke. He throws in there, fighting people like Donald Trump. And he's using this as a platform to really elevate him as a presidential candidate. I mean, he is seriously being considered. He was named by Fortune magazine one of the top world leaders.
Well, but Fortune magazine is one of the Time conglomerates. It's owned by Time magazine, right? Mm-hmm. They've had Hitler on the cover, Ayatollah Khomeini. And speaking of Hitler, who was Hitler's favorite American president? Abraham Lincoln. In his book, My Cap, he wrote about Lincoln. And in 1866, had Lincoln lived and the North would have lost the war, the South would have stayed away from him anyway. The war was never about breaking up the Union. That's one of the biggest lies. It wasn't a civil war. There was two military units, two separate countries fighting each other. That's not a civil war, that's a war. So that's a lie from the get-go, another indoctrination lie. But from the very get-go, like Hitler, he put thousands of people in jail without incarcerating them without a trial. He went from the civil court system to the military tribunals, put people in jail and locked them up for long times. In 1866, had he lived and lost the war, the Supreme Court ruled that everything he did was unconstitutional and it's criminal. They talk about Trump being a bad president and all the things he did and whatever. Look, nobody is going to ever touch Abraham Lincoln for being the worst president and violator the U.S. Constitution.
But
not one president.
People are taught in history class that he saved the Union, that he was one of our greatest presidents. Historians rank him, Bernie, as one of the top three, along with Washington and Jefferson.
It's all propaganda. It's all there's nothing they can show on paper to show the war was over slavery. But I can show you on paper how Lincoln got the contract away from the South after the war was over for the Federal Railroad, Transcontinental Railroad, where it was the first corporate welfare, free money, millions of acres of free land. Who got the contract after Lincoln got elected? His client, exclusive non-bid, and he stole $23 million. Who owned the first railroad terminal when they picked the railroad's going to pop up? Whoever owns that, gold mine. Abraham Lincoln owned it in Council Bluffs, Iowa. He was corrupted from day one. His election was all corrupted in the nomination. They stole the ballots the first day, counterfeited the tickets. I mean, he is the biggest fraud in American history. And he was a racist beyond anybody we could see in modern times.
So, yeah,
he would have sent all blacks to Africa till the day he died.
Yeah.
Free him and get rid of him.
And the narrative, of course, is that he fought for the emancipation of African Americans, that he fought for the end of slavery, when he actually wanted to send black folks back to Africa, right?
And he did send some of them to Haiti. He had to rescue them. Yeah. But he was always about colonization. You see, the thing is, and it shocked me. It shocked me to find out that the abolitionists, the few abolitionists in the North that spurred the old Uncle Tom's Cabin on, that they didn't like blacks either. They wanted to free them. They felt sorry for them. They were sympathetic, but they wanted to ship them and get them out. Lincoln's own home state. If you were black, you couldn't live there unless you put up $1,000 and you couldn't stay for long. They didn't want the blacks. We assimilated in the South. Jefferson Davis adopted a black orphan. Jefferson Davis and Robbie Lee were 10 times better than Lincoln, the man. 1,000,000 times better than Mitch.
But what do you think about what's going on today, where people are trying to use today's values to judge people that were back in the Civil War era?
You know, Pope Pius, remember Pope Pius? We were in the Catholic studio here. He came to America. You know what he said? We cannot judge the past by the standards of today. And I heard him say it. I wrote it down. I put it in my book. Said, amen, Pope. You can't. So never work. Because in the Civil War days, everybody was a white supremacist. North, South, whatever. The difference was we assimilated down here. We were close. In the North, they never did understand that. They hated mixed blood people. They never understood. You know, Lincoln said many times, we will not marry black people. You will not marry, you will not. I mean, we got documentation, lots of speeches. It's out there. How can they call this guy the great emancipator? Well, the only reason he even put out that bogus document was to keep England out the war, because England was on their way. They were coming to join the Confederacy. And to recruit 1 million black soldiers, which he never did. He recruited 187,000. My great-grandfather, God bless him, one of them, a runaway slave. Now, speaking of that, I noticed that Mitch is admitting that he's got mulatto blood down the line. After all these years in politics, it's come out since he's been outed.
Now,
as soon as I found out, I went and bought an African outfit at the